Drivers, start your engines. Let's go. You! That.
You are entering the wind tunnel with Jackaroot. No spin, no bull, all Jack. Wind Tunnel is brought to you by
Advance Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR.
Here is your host, Jackaroot.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. As always, we are happy to have you here inside the wind tunnel. Now, this week, we have woven into the show a common thread. You have heard me expound upon the importance of recognizing the role that short track racing plays in the development and success of the upper tiers of racing. Well, this week, our three guests stay connected to that foundation. Conor Daly, while making his bones in the NTT IndyCar series, always likes to venture into the short track arena, and you'll hear why later in the show. Peyton Sellers, he's an Advance Auto Parts NASCAR Weekly Series champion, and when he joins us, he'll explain how his team found a silver lining during these COVID-19 times. And NASCAR Cup Series driver Ryan Preece will explain why staying connected to his roots is so vital to his continued success. That's all coming up. But before we go to break, let's get you up to speed with this week's news and notes. NASCAR's Top 3 series were in Las Vegas, Nevada this weekend. Las Vegas Motor Speedway was the site of the action, and on Friday night, John Hunter Nemechek made good on his social media tag, #HereToWinRaces, by taking the Camping World Truck Series event.
I can't disclose what I was doing inside the truck to be able to hold him off, but Kyle has been a great boss, a great mentor. I feel like I've kind of grown a relationship with him over the past year or so. And I've been able to pick his brain a lot and ask him questions and discuss different things to be able to be in this position, and just so thankful for the opportunity. It's great to be back in Victory Lane. That's all I can say.
He beat out his boss, Kyle Busch, who suffered a flat tire and an ensuing mystery spin on the apron with 40 laps to go. That spin brought out a caution that allowed Busch to stay on the lead lap, and eventually John Hunter's KBM Toyota crossed the stripe in first, and Kyle finished in second. At the post-race press conference, Kyle Busch was asked about the spin.
And I'm sure you know that whenever you have a spin like the one you had, there's going to be questions. So can you kind of take me through your spin? Thanks.
Nope.
I'm sorry?
Nope.
You're not going to explain what happened?
Nope.
Saturday, it was the Xfinity Series turn on the mile and a half for the Alsco 300, and A.J. Allmendinger punched his ticket into the playoffs with a victory.
You know, to win and lock ourselves in is great. Every time I get to drive a race car for somebody, it means the world to me, because I don't bring any sponsorship. I don't have any family money. You're putting me in the car because you believe in my abilities. So it means the world to me. And the best way I can show them is driving my ass off.
NASCAR's Cup Series closed out the weekend with the Sunday running of the Pennzoil 400. In just his fourth start at Hendrick Motorsports, Kyle Larson scored the victory.
Feels good. I guess I didn't know if I had ever have an opportunity to win a NASCAR race again, and then to get this awesome opportunity with Hendrick Motorsports and Mr. H taking a massive chance on me. Cool to get a win this early in the year and now focus ahead and try and win a lot more and rack up playoff points and put ourselves in a good spot once the playoffs start.
Brad Keselowski finished second. Kyle Busch finished third. Ryan Blaney, who this week carried Alaska Raceway Park and Meridian Speedway on his number 12 as associate sponsors as part of Advance Auto Parts Weekly Tracks program, finished in the fifth spot. And that's this week's news and notes.
We're hitting the brakes, but we'll be back on track after this. Coming up next.
Look at Daly pull away from Hunter Ray. Daly has to keep on doing what he's doing and get as much distance as he can between the cars, between himself and the cars behind, but he is doing a phenomenal job.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Well, my next guest makes his living, for the most part, racing on the NTT IndyCar circuit, driving the United States Air Force Chevrolet for Ed Carpenter Racing. But there is absolutely not a single type of car that he won't give a run at. Stock cars, trucks, and midgets. They've all had Conor Daly's name emblazoned on them. Conor, first up, thanks for joining me in the wind tunnel, but what's up with I have a helmet and will travel approach that you've taken to racing?
I mean, I just love driving, man. I had this discussion with someone the other day because they asked me, like, why are you doing this? And I was like, well, I mean, why not? Like, if you have an opportunity to drive something or anything, and actually you'll see something else that I drove a couple weeks ago that wasn't publicized yet, but another automobile. Well, I don't know if it's called an automobile, but it's something with an engine. So
well, you're not. Come on, give it up. Give it up, Daly.
I can't say anything about it yet, but you know, it might be a boat. I don't know. So
wow.
So
hey,
I'll get in anything.
Hey, listen, I got an idea for you. You know the circuit where they have the swamp buggies down in Florida?
Oh yeah.
I think you circumnavigating the Sippy Hole would be outstanding.
I don't know about that yet. I'm still on the fence, but yeah, man. I mean, I love to drive, to pilot anything, to learn new things. I think I want to get to the end of life and be like, you know what? I didn't say no to anything, and I live, with no regrets, and live with taking advantage of whatever opportunity. And certainly in the past, if Travis Pastrana tells you to do anything, you do it. You never say no. That's kind of how I got into this truck deal. And I really enjoyed the first time around. So it's something I couldn't say no to. I love driving. I love learning. And I think anytime I drive something new, it doesn't hurt my overall, package as a driver. I think anytime you drive something, you get a different experience. I have to think it builds your base of knowledge even broader.
You mentioned building that base of knowledge. I think most of my listeners would look and say, well, wait a minute, how can you transfer something from a midget to an Indy car or from an Xfinity car to an Indy car? Can you expound upon that a little bit?
Well, it's odd timing, but after I did do more midget racing, I had my best year ever on ovals. So, I qualified on pole at Iowa, and, we were always competitive on the ovals with Carlin, and have my best Indy 500 with Andretti Autosport after doing the Chili Bowl for the first time. So, it's just, I think it's something that, when you get a different feel for certain cars, for certain ways they like to be driven, and actually getting out of your comfort zone. I think that's what's most important sometimes is driving the midget, driving the truck. That gets me out of my comfort zone. That I drive the car at a different angle than an Indy car is driven. And I think all of that stuff helps. It has to help because you're just learning more. And I think in racing, you have to learn more every lap that you do. I think no matter what, you still talk to Scott Dixon or Lewis Hamilton. I think those guys are always learning more every time they drive, and you don't forget how to drive. You can only get better, I think.
It seems like it's been forever and a day, and even then more forever since we dropped the curtain on the 2020 season. We're getting closer and closer to starting up the 2021 campaign. How itchy are you to see the green flag drop and get back in the cockpit?
I can't wait, man. I mean, honestly, just having continuity in my career has paid off so much. We saw last year with Carlin, being able to come back with them for a second year, paid off massively. I mean, we were at the sharp end of the grid every single time, we were out. And I think that was just because they knew me. They knew me better. They knew what I wanted. And ECR, this year we have that same opportunity. The guys, know what I want out of the car. They know what I need out of the car. And so far, we've had 2 test days with the team already, and we've been competitive and at the sharp end each time. So I'm really happy with what the team has done to kind of fine tune the car towards more of what my driving style needs. And that's what happens when you have an off season to look over everything, to kind of reset. And I'm very excited to see where we go with it. I think, this year as well, we get to go back to venues that we missed out on last year. You know what I mean? I think together as a team with ECR, we only got to do like 4 different tracks. So it'll be nice to, get to the different street circuits, hopefully Toronto, we're going to Long Beach, you go to Nashville, all these places, and some of the Portland stuff that we didn't get to do, tracks that are great, tracks that I've had success at in the past that I never got to go to last year with ECR. So I think it's exciting to look at. There's a lot to look forward to, and I just can't wait to be a part of the U.S. Air Force team again, represent for them, and just get on with the business.
Is Conor Daly, how would I put this, old school, drives by the seat of his pants, or is he driven by the data that the engineers put in front of you during debriefs?
I need to feel everything. I think in the IndyCar, my window of operation, I would like it to be bigger, but if I do get exactly what I want, we put together things like the pole run at Iowa. If I have exactly what I need, I tell, I was like, I'll do the job. And I think, we've kind of showed that at the test as well. We mess around with a few certain things, and then as soon as we make the right change, it puts the car in the window where I can feel everything and I can feel exactly what I need. We jump massively forward. So, the data is very important, and I study all of that, and I try to fine tune. There was a lot that I worked on with my own driving style last year that I needed to change, and I work with Lee Bentham, who's our driver coach at ECR, and we've fixed that. And I think starting this year with a few things that I've done to my driving style, I think we've improved. But yes, definitely seat of the pants, feel everything, need to feel everything, and need to be able to basically feel everything the tire is doing. And if I can't, I definitely struggle a little bit. So I think we as a team have figured that out.
All right, step out of the cockpit for a moment. You've gotten a reputation as one of the top pranksters in the IndyCar series. You've punked others. They have punked you. What do you got in store for some of those cats when you finally get back to the gasoline alley and garage area of the IndyCar series?
I don't know yet. I don't even think about it. Honestly, Colton Herta was the one who got me involved last year, and then I end up with the most responsibility. So he had the idea of everything last year, and I just helped execute and take the blame. So it's I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of new drivers in our series. We got Scott McLaughlin, Roman Grosjean, Jimmy Johnson. I mean, we got a lot of big names that have come to town, and they might need a good a good prank to get him, to get him into the IndyCar world. I mean, this is our house, and they're coming in, and so we gotta make sure we set them straight and get them involved in the community here.
I like the way you threw Colton under the bus. You're too young.
He deserves it.
You're too young to remember the sitcom Leave It to Beaver. But poor old Beaver always got in trouble, and he blamed Eddie Haskell all the time. So
it's easy to blame me. I'm the jokester. I'm everyone thinks I'm not taking life very seriously, and it is what it is.
You bring up a very valid point, and I don't want to keep you too long, but you do have that reputation, and while you live life to the fullest, you're a very, very serious guy. So how do you balance the two?
Absolutely. I think when I look at drivers that I idolized growing up, and drivers that I still race against now, Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, guys that are champions, guys that have won the Indy 500. I think back in the day, when you look at what, the non-internet era, right? We just saw the guys at the racetrack and everyone's very serious. And now we've got this internet era where you're very much involved in our lives now. If we tweet it out there, if we put something on Instagram, you're directly involved in what we're doing right then and there. You know what I mean? And I think the older generation, the guys who saw the fans who saw these champions kind of come through, you didn't see that of them. You know what I mean? When they were younger drivers. And so it's just a different era that we're involved in. And I love more than anything, more than being a jokester or a prankster or partying or whatever. I love more than anything dedicating my entire existence to being a better racing driver. And that's my goal. That's what I wake up every day and try to do is be a better driver. But guess what? You still have a life to live as well. And I'm as I said earlier, I don't want to get to the end of life and think, what, I should have done that.
Yeah.
But I was raised by very responsible parents and very respectful, human beings that I love dearly. And, they taught me what's right and what's wrong. And I definitely understand, the limit, but I also, want to make sure that I can continue to connect with my fan base. I think a lot of the people who support me, just know that I'm a regular guy. Like I'm going to go out to a bar to have dinner with my friends, you know what I mean? And not just, sit at home. I'm going to be me. I'm going to always be me. And, I think you could be absolutely the most dedicated racing driver in the world, but also go out to dinner with your friends and maybe have one beer. Who knows?
Well said, my friend. Hey, listen, we appreciate your visiting with us, and can't wait for you and the rest of the brigade to hit the Barber Motorsports Park, and let's light the candle on 2021, okay?
Can't wait, man. We're very, very excited.
That's Conor Daly, who mixes fun with a serious job. We'll be back with more right after this.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
I'm Kyle Rickey from MRN Radio, the voice of NASCAR. They are the foundation of American motorsports, the launching pad for racing's future. Time now for the Advanced Auto Parts Victory Lap, brought to you by the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, driving local racing and local communities forward.
Well, there is no question that all of us, in one way or the other, has been negatively affected by what we've dealt with for the last 12 months, the pandemic and COVID-19. But taking a victory lap here in our Advanced Auto Parts Victory Lap is a guy and a team that was able to take the disappointment of his home racetrack being shuttered due to COVID-19 and taking that lemon and turning it into lemonade and a championship. We're talking about Peyton Sellers, who joins us now. Peyton, recount for my listeners a little bit of the story that when you discovered that where you have made your bones for oh so many years and helped win a national title back in 2005, South Boston Speedway said, we can't operate this season. You turned your attention a little bit further down the road to a racetrack in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and beat the best of the competition.
Well, I'll be honest with you. South Boston had been continuously operating since 1957, and I won the 2019 track championship there. So, we're carrying a lot of momentum going into the 2020 season. I've got a lot of local sponsors here with Clarence's Steakhouse, who has been in racing for a long time. Danville Toyota, which is, it's their home track. So when COVID hit, we kind of were scratching our heads, do we just sit out? Do we wait? Do we just wait? And come to find out, South Boston never was open to open the doors due to our governor's rules. So it left us wanting to race. Our sponsors said, look, we'll step up. We'll get behind you. We'll allow you to go to other tracks and race because, let's face it, they're local regional sponsors and they don't get a lot of benefit out of us going to Myrtle Beach Speedway or Southern National Speedway.
Sure.
And but everybody was on board, pulling hard. Clarence's Steakhouse had to close for a while just due to the COVID rules, so they were taking a beating. Well, the door was open for us to go to Langley Speedway and then go to Dominion Raceway, and we got on the road and went racing. And it hurt driving past your home track every week to drive 3 more hours to go race every single weekend. So that was a hurt, but on the same token, it was a good opportunity for us to go do it, because honestly, without COVID hitting, I don't know that we would have went to Dominion Raceway and run for a track championship. It's just logistically wise, it didn't make sense. So it gave us the opportunity to do that, and we came out on top. Fortunately, it was just a long, hard summer, but they had races with no fans. They had races with very limited fans. They made some extra precautions to separate the fans on the back stretch and the tailgating spot and the front stretch. And it just opened the door up for them to be able to try to push forward and race. And my hat's off to the guys at Dominion Raceway. They worked hard to try to kind of not necessarily go around the governor's rules, but to kind of maneuver around them and play within the gray area to be able to have racing. So we were able to get a track title and a state title along with that in Virginia. And we ran runner-up to Josh Berry this year in the national title. So we were able to take, lemons and make lemonade out of it.
Well, you mentioned Josh Berry. He was with us on a previous episode of Wind Tunnel and talked a little bit about going from bank teller to fielding a phone call from Dale Jr. that ended up having him work in the Xfinity Series and win that title and now compete on a limited basis. What about Peyton Sellers? You've had your toe in the water for quite some time. I find it astonishing that you cut your teeth driving sprint cars at the age of 13, but now you're full fendered and you've been in the K&N series. You've been across the board. What's on your bucket list that you want to accomplish still, Peyton?
Honestly, I'm a blessed individual. I've been able to race at many different levels. From winning the national title at age 21 and getting a development contract with Richard Childress and going out west and racing. I lived in Sacramento for a year. When you look at the opportunities that I've had, from racing in Washington State to Florida to everywhere in between, we've been very fortunate to be able to do that. I've been able to race at levels that I could only dream of, racing Xfinity races and truck races and things like that. And we've never had the momentum to be able to carry the full-time funding with us to be able to compete at that level week after week. We've always been able to do, a short race schedule here and there. But I'm very happy with that. Meanwhile, I'm a short track racer. So every given weekend, I was able to go race at South Boston or Caraway or wherever the local race was that weekend to go chase some short track trophies. And, right now, I'm 37 years old. So I'm the kind of the old guy at the track now. People are looking up to me, young kids, 16 are coming to me for advice. And I'm like, this is not right, because I was always the youngest guy. I was always the late model stock guy running at 16 or 17 years old. The roles have kind of reversed, but I'm a racer. I would still love to race the Daytona 500. That one opportunity to say, hey, I raced in the Daytona 500 would still be a feather in my cap, so to speak. I've raced at Indianapolis, and that was my bucket list when it happened. I was driving for a small team of Bico Racing. We ran a 16 race schedule in 2015, and to go to Indianapolis and run the Brickyard and be able to just do it was amazing to me. So stuff like that is what's really neat. The first time you go to Daytona, I think my first time in Daytona was actually not in a stock car. I ran the 24-hour race in 2005 there. BIR is right down the road from where I live at here in Danville. So road racing, I've been able to do a lot of road racing, and I got to go run the 24 in a prototype that year. A team that was based down there needed another driver. They had a couple funded drivers and they needed another driver. I was able to go do it. Well, long story short, but the first time you go through turns 3 and 4 and you say, hey, that's where Dale Earnhardt, finished his career. And those are bucket list times for me that I've been able to fulfill and cherish that moment.
Well, you're maybe the exception to the rule, and maybe it is because you're in that middle age of 37. I sense that you have a deep appreciation for the heritage, the legacy, the history. And yet, how often do you have to pinch yourself to remind yourself that you are part of that heritage? When they look it up in racinginfo.com, Peyton Sellers' name is plastered all over there with championships and trophies.
Well, it is definitely a humbling experience to be a part of that. Virginia has a lot of racers that's come out of Virginia. I grew up racing with Denny Hamlin. guys like, Sonny Hutchins and all these, old names that have raced.
Hey,
years
don't
ago.
forget Paul Radford.
Paul Radford drove the Clarence Steakhouse car for
That's
many
right.
years. And, to be a little part of Virginia history is something that I'm very proud of, the Hendricks, Ray Hendrick and stuff like that. And those names are, big modified names, but they're sportsman names and everything in between. So I do take a lot of pride in being, from Virginia, short track racer, and have had the opportunity to go to some of these bigger tracks. And that is something that I'll always appreciate. I've been able to win 5 track titles at South Boston Speedway, which I consider one of the harder tracks in the country to run at. It's been around a long time. It's a lot of good cars. We have good car count week in and week out. So it's definitely something that, if it all ended today, I could be able to tell my kids, hey, I got to do it for a long time and enjoyed what I got to do.
Starting last season, Advance Auto Parts picked up the NASCAR Weekly Series sponsorship, and they've poured a lot of new thought, outside the box thinking into their sponsorship, and they continue to do so as they unveil throughout, the beginnings in the springtime here in 2021. How important is it to have a company like Advance back what you do Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays? You know what I'm talking about, being a short track Saturday night special.
Absolutely. We have an account in Advance Auto here in Danville. We've got 3 stores in Danville. I grew up watching Frank Kimmel race those ARCA cars sponsored by Advance Auto Parts. So I knew what Advance was many years ago. They actually sponsored my late model for 4 or 5 years before I had the opportunity to move up the ladder some. It just makes perfect sense. When you look at a company like Advance Auto and the type of auto parts that they sell, they're selling to the people that go watch races on Saturday night. They're not selling to the people that, running banks and things like that. These are grassroots racers. These are the people that go home and change their own oil, that change their own battery, that go to Advance on Sunday morning to buy parts for their car to work on them so they can go to work on Monday. So these are blue collar workers that need auto parts. And it just, for Advance to kind of come full circle, I've seen them sponsor stuff for years. They did monster trucks for years, which I thought was a good opportunity at the time. But to see them focused on short track racing again is something that just makes perfect sense from a company and from a culture standpoint for them.
Well, we couldn't be more pleased to have you take a victory lap in the Advance Auto Parts Weekly Series Victory Lap segment here. Don't be a stranger. How many titles are you going to go for there in 2021?
Well, we're going to definitely run for a track title at South Boston and Dominion Raceway potentially this year. And, we'll see I never sit here and say I'm going for a national title this year. So many cards have to line up just right. The guys out west are running good right now. The guys up north, we talked about Stafford a little bit, Keith Rocco and those guys, I don't know what they're scrambling right now to trying to find a place to run for NASCAR points. So, we'll just see how the season shakes out. Long about the middle or end of July is when if you have a shot or not. If you've won 7 or 8 races by that point, you can say, hey, we're going to dig in and go that extra mile to try to compete for a national title. But, so we'll just have to see how the spring holds out and how COVID holds out. If the tracks get opening back up, we'll be able to race a lot.
Well, Peyton, it's been a real treat. My best wishes to you, your racing operation, your construction company, your family. Look, you're the backbone of American motorsport. Each and every week, so many thousands of people just like you go out there and try to prove that they're the very best. You've done it, and you continue to do it, and I'm pleased you decided to join us here inside the wind tunnel.
Anytime. We'd love to be a part of it. Thank you for having us on.
Be sure to join us again next week for another trip to racing's grassroots with the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Victory Lap. Brought to you by the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, advancing the next generation of drivers and champions. I'm Kyle Rickey from the Motor Racing Network.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Hey, I'm Joey Logano, and you're listening to Jackaroot's Wind Tunnel.
How about a win and $100,000 Ryan Preece delivers at Bristol?
Nice job. just take care of that motor there.
He said, I'm burning it down. Screw the motor.
Well, joining us now is a guy that cut his teeth at a very young age, racing on go-karts and teaching others how to race a go-kart. And then he moved to the open wheels of modifieds. And look, his resume is pretty damn long. Known him since he was a tyke. We're talking about Ryan Preece of Berlin, Connecticut. Hey, Ryan, welcome to the Wind Tunnel.
Yeah, thanks, Jack, for having me on. And like I said, this is pretty sweet. I like the graphics. I like the whole thing.
Well, listen, you need to retweet out to all of your friends the fact that this podcast series is available, because as I said to you before we started this recording, this is not your run-of-the-mill visit wanting to know, well, you finished third here and you were in the top. That's a bunch of malarkey, okay? What we want to do is have some fun. What we also hope to do each and every episode is put the focus and the spotlight on what makes cats like you tick. And personally, and I know this will get a smile out of you, also included thanks to Advance Auto Parts, we do a weekly short track focus called the Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap. So we're giving some national recognition to some of the guys that you've raced against year in and year out. And oh, by the way, still do.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I enjoy racing. That's why I do what I do, and kind of, after I get done with one race, I'm running to the next one. And I feel like, growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s and 2010, that era, we didn't have, I hear a lot of stories, and I guess I'm making my own, but we didn't have that same opportunity like Richie Evans, and Reggie Ruggiero, and Jerry Marquis. It's funny, I'm talking about these names, and I'm 30, but like some 15-year-old kids that go to the modified races, they didn't have that opportunity to watch that or hear about those stories. So I'm kind of doing my own thing, and I've always wanted to chase trophies, so that's what I'm doing right now. But going back to what you were saying, have some fun. I feel like that word is used very loosely when we're having interviews. So I know when I get on a podcast with Jackie Arute, that I'm gonna have. I enjoy talking. I remember, 5 years ago or whatever it was, you're on your golf cart driving around Stafford Motor Speedway, and I'm pushing you with the bumper, and that's what's fun. That's what I enjoy.
Well, let me ask you, in the environment and the world that you live in, and it's pressure packed, and at the cup level, is there room to still have fun, Ryan?
Oh, absolutely. I think it depends on your personality. It depends on the people you have around you. And I'm lucky enough that I end up, I wouldn't necessarily call me a magnet, but I end up having those type of people around me that I want to be around. So I do see what you're saying, because, in the world that I live in, and you've been around it, there's a lot of pressure to perform, but that's never stopped me by any means. Pressure to me, I see others around me and they're shaking or they're nervous, and me, I thrive off it. I enjoy it, which maybe that's why in those pressure packed moments that I end up, coming through but if you can't perform in pressure situations, then this sport's not for you.
The other side to that issue, whether it's at Seekonk Speedway or at Thompson or Daytona, there's 40 cars or 30 cars or 20 cars, and there can only be one winner. And yet y'all are out there week in and week out. What's the mindset of a driver knowing going in that there's only going to be one Tom Brady?
I mean, to be honest with you, I never really think about it like that, right? I just think about it as I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy. And if I'm not at the end of the day, then I sure as hell tried my best to be that guy. So, that's what I really enjoy about this sport, though. There can only be one guy that's holding that big trophy at the end of the day. Even though it does take a team of people behind you to make it happen. But yeah, that's what I enjoy about it. I want to be the guy holding that trophy.
Well, then you had to be inspired by what happened at the Daytona 500 because, as I love to say, Michael McDowell is every man. Michael McDowell is a classic example of if you keep at it, success is going to come your way. It is no different than the way you came up the ladder. You gambled your future after running one full season in the Xfinity Series to pick and choose, with the help of JGR, events, and you became the $100,000 man at Bristol, Tennessee.
And that helped me build my first modified of my own. So, I mean, it was so cool. So Michael McDowell actually was a neighbor of mine when I moved down here.
Did he lend you his lawnmower? Were you over there borrowing power tools?
I have to borrow stuff, but he did advice on where to find contractors because it's different from where I'm from. But we went over there. They had a big, cookout for when he won it, which was really cool. I mean, so everybody has their own story, right? I could sit here and I could tell everybody mine, but it was cool. Michael and I and another person, we were all talking and just really hearing his story about how he started parked and then he ended up getting, bouncing ride to ride and really not knowing if you're going to have a ride year to year. Those are the situations that guys like myself, guys like Michael, that we're in every single year because we don't necessarily have the independent funding that, Mike Joy was talking about in a tweet he put earlier this week. So it's a constant fight, but at the same time, you earn the respect of your fellow competitors that have worked hard to get there and continue working hard to stay there. So it was really cool to see Michael win that race and be able to pull that one off.
For you, this season started with a lot of uncertainty, and yet I heard you embrace that uncertainty and transpose it into more motivation for Ryan Preece to succeed.
Yeah, I think that's what you got to do. That's what you have to do in racing. That's what you have to do in my position. You can't sit back and say, poor me, or kind of do those things that you see other people do. You gotta be a winner. You gotta be that person that wants to be there and work hard to stay there. So every race is a battle. And, I think I've shown many people at this point that I'm not a quitter.
All right. Nobody's listening. It's just me and you as old friends. Okay. How many times have you come home and Heather's had to kick you in the ass to change your attitude?
It was kind of funny that the first 2 weeks, none, because it was great. Andy, and then we came home from Homestead. We didn't have the run we wanted, and it made me realize that, man, this can affect my outlook or attitude in life, and it really can, because as a race car driver, that's what we want. We are not happy unless we're winning or at least performing to what we know we're capable of. So it's she hasn't had too much yet. So, and I'm hoping we keep it that way.
Well, look, when all fails, remember, you can always go out to the pasture and, brush some of those miniature horses and, shovel some of that miniature cow manure or horse manure, and that'll make her happy. And a happy wife is a happy life.
That's the honest truth, for sure. 100%.
In all seriousness, a lot of folks don't realize that she can trace a background into racing as well. And that competitive spirit, one would think that having two very competitive people in the same household could lead to some strife, but it's just the opposite with you two.
No, we definitely we're competitive in different ways. So
how so? No. Give me an example of what you and Heather compete about now.
He just doesn't like when there's certain things that we're better, some are better at than others, right? Like,
sounds like a paltry excuse to me, Preece.
Yep, pretty much. So we've just learned, we've been together for 10 years now. We just don't do things. We try to stay away from those competitive things like mini golf or go-karting or whatever it may be, because one of us is going to leave mad at the end of it. And sometimes it ends up being me, obviously. So, but yeah, no, she's awesome. She makes things really easy on me with the week-to-week stuff. And, you know, her father raced and she grew up racing, and she understands like how a bad day can affect you as a person.
Yeah.
It just eats at you. So she's definitely somebody that understands it and definitely tries to help me cope with things sometimes or navigate situations.
Well, listen, you know how I feel about your career and what you're endeavoring to do. I think the only person that gets more excited when you are successful is Sean Waddell, who, by the way, when things aren't going well, we've got to take away all the shoelaces, sharp objects, and belts. But
Yeah.
you have a legion of fans, and you haven't let them down, Ryan.
Yeah, I try not to. You know, the Northeast, it's something you also see in today's racing world is some people skip the steps. They skip the grassroots. They don't build the fan base, and they try to buy the fan base through social media. That's not something that I've done. I've worked hard week in and week out and built myself a fan base. And when we do go to our Poconos, our New Hampshires, our Dovers, or Watkins Glen, I have a fan base that'll get really loud, you know, good cheers. And that as a driver is pretty special, because that's what you want. You know, I think I heard somebody say it once, and it was Teddy Christopher who said it, you know, whether they're booing for you or cheering for you, they're still making noise. So that means they know who you are.
Well, keep in mind, TC had a lot of sayings. The one I remember is, if you want to make friends, go to summer camp.
Or if you want a friend, bring a dog.
That's right. Hey, Ryan, it's always a pleasure. 2021 is just underway, and we wish you nothing but the very best. Give my best to Heather, and you know what? Make sure that the couch at your house is nice and soft and comfortable, so that when you stray and you get, you know, sent to the timeout, at least you can be comfortable.
All right, I will. Thanks, Jackie.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Well, that just about wraps up another episode here in the Wind Tunnel. Now, we won't be posting next week because it's time for me and my family to pack up here in Florida and head back up to the frigid north. Be sure to watch our social media, though, for some really exciting news about Jackaroot's Wind Tunnel when we return in 14 days. We're upping our game and taking this show to another level, and it will involve you. My thanks to this week's guests, Peyton Sellers, Conor Daly, and Ryan Preece. My thanks to each and every one of you as well. Now, by the time we return, a lot of local tracks will be shaking off the winter and starting up their 2021 campaigns, and I hope that you will support them and help keep our sport thriving and on the rise. Thanks to all of you for your continued support, and until we are all together again here inside the Wind Tunnel, look out for each other. So long, everyone.
Today's trip to the Wind Tunnel was brought to you by
Advance Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR.